you were making some interesting analogies with this situation in Kosovo in the late 1990s. And there's a difference also between America's relationship, the United States with NATO then versus today. Because if I recall events, people were waiting around to see what the Europeans would do to clean up the situation in former Yugoslavia, and nothing really moved forward. And then finally, the United States, you in charge, got to the job. It took whatever it took to do. And that isn't the same relationship today between the United States and NATO. You wear two hats. You're former head of NATO and you're a prominent American personality. What do you feel about that evolution? Is that a fair assessment?
I think the United States back in 2009 or 10, under the Obama administration, sought to develop a new direction in US foreign policy. And there was a meeting with Russian President Medvedev in which he was told essentially, look, we want to work with you people, and we're not too worried about Europe. And this was after Russia had invaded Georgia. So it was a fundamental misunderstanding of Putin. But nevertheless, the meeting was, we're interested in Asia. And by the way, we're going to do stuff in space. Don't mess with us in Asia. Go ahead and develop your economic relations with Nord Stream in Germany and so forth. And let's look for stability. President Biden in 2021, 12 years later, provided the same prescription for Putin. He said, we hope you'll be a stable statesman and part of the international system and so forth. You know what to do. When he met with him, I think it was in Geneva in July of last year. And he could have lowered the hammer on him, told him what would really happen, but he didn't. He's still, and the United States national security strategy at that point was still saying, stabilize Europe and face Asia. My problem with this strategy and my concerns, as I've expressed to a number of people, are that actually, number one, Putin is an agent of instability and disruption. Russia has been since Vladimir Lenin and the creation of the Communist International, where they have attempted consistently over many years to destroy governments in the West. And so it's very difficult to see him as a factor of stability. Multiple administrations have tried to cut a deal with Russia. Condoleezza Rice told me before in 2000, oh, we're going to work with Russia. Oh, sure, we'll work with Russia. And all they did was abrogate the ABM treaty. No administration's been able to work with Putin because he wants the Soviet Union back. On the other hand, China, it's the dog chasing the car. We finally catch the car. What's the dog going to do with the car? What are you going to do with China? You don't want the Chinese government to collapse. You're intertwined economically with China in a way that you aren't with Russia. China has pretensions of historic inevitability, its role as a leading power in mankind's history, et cetera. Okay, there's ego there. There's a separate civilization. Somehow the world's got to be big enough for both the Enlightenment of the 18th century with John Locke and Rousseau and all that's transpired over 300 years, and the Confucian civilization of China. Somehow the world's got to be big enough for that. And we've got to find a way to make that happen. The only one who wants to see a war between the United States and China is Russia. And that's the Stalinist strategy that he's repeated from World War II. So we've got to understand what our priorities are. You've got to push Putin back. You've got to find a modus vivendi with China.